Welcome to Child's Play by Early Years Resources, the podcast dedicated to exploring innovative approaches in education.
Join us and our expert guests as they share ideas, strategies, and valuable insights to support the curriculum and help meet the needs of all EYFS and primary school children. This week, we're joined by Kath Davies as we discuss the joy of music in early years.
Kath is an early years specialist and music teacher. She is also the founder of Ready Study Music, a practical song-based resource for early years practitioners to create educational music experiences and help young children develop essential skills.
Can you roar like a dinosaur? Can you roar like a dinosaur? Can you roar like a dinosaur? 1, 2, 3, 4, roar!
And that was the wonderful dinosaur song by Kath Davies, who we have here with us today. Hello and welcome.
Oh, well, hello. It's very nice to be here with you.
It's lovely to see you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and maybe about your journey and what inspired you to start Ready Study Music?
Yeah, so I've basically been teaching music most of my life. I've been involved in music, had some fantastic music teachers myself in primary and secondary education in London. I was really, really fortunate in that way. Played instruments. And then when I went to college, I took instrument music as my main subject. And then everywhere I went, everywhere I taught, it was like, oh, you do music. You can do our music in the school. And so that's what I did. I was always music coordinator wherever I turned up. And I think that was the seed of Ready Study Music, because in my mind, there were people who would run a mile rather than teach music. You know, if anybody said, oh, you could take singing assembly today, honestly, they'd find many, many excuses why not to do that. And so there was that little niggle in the back of me that thought, oh, music's so natural for me. I love it. And I know children love it, but there's a lot of teachers and practitioners out there. It's not the same for them. So that little niggle was in the back of my mind. I then went on to develop a preschool music class with a local charity. And that's where all the foundation of Ready Steady Music came, because over, I think, 18 years since I did that, I've worked with under fives in sort of paid for music sessions. So people come along, mums and dads and carers come along with their little ones, and we do music together. And over that 18 years, I then developed what worked. So a lot of trial and error, and learned a lot. I mean, always learning. I'm always learning and going on courses and webinars, and, we never stop learning, do we? But then I thought, I've got something here that works, but we're only reaching the children whose parents bring them along, who can pay, for one thing, and the parents who haven't got to go out to work. So they're okay, they can bring their children. But there's so many children out there who are not getting these experiences. So my passion really is to get those musical experiences into every nursery setting. It's a big vision. And to put some resources into practitioners' hands where they feel they can lead really rich musical experiences with their children and actually enjoy it and not be scared of it. So I would say that's kind of my reason. Music for every child, and whatever background or whatever, and also confident practitioners who actually enjoy making music with their children. So I think that's probably where it all came from.
That's lovely. As part of your vision, you created a lot of songs, especially for Ready Steady Music. Could you tell us a bit more about them?
Yeah.
There's so many fun ones. There's the bubble song, Tap Your Sticks. Could you tell us about the children? How do they respond to your music, and what are their favourites, and how did you come up with them as well?
Yeah, so, as I've been working with youngsters, you obviously see the songs that really they grab straight away. Dinosaur Song being one of them. Little funny story about the Dinosaur Song. It turned up Friday morning in the post. A lovely puppet, Mr. Green Dinosaur Puppet. And my husband, Alan, who is a very accomplished musician who works with me, plays piano, cello, bass, whatever. So I get this out of the packet and say, we need a dinosaur song. The first thing I did was actually look online, dinosaur songs. And I was very underwhelmed. There were a lot of squeaky voices, and I don't know, it just didn't grab me. So I say to Alan, we need like a dinosaur song. He needs to be, big and fierce. And he starts vamping a few chords on the piano. And so we come up with this dinosaur song, the quickest ever. It's very simple. Then we were going off to do a preschool session in the afternoon. So it's what we do with a lot of our songs, actually. We try them out on the children and see what happens. Some don't meet the criteria and they get forgotten. This one, oh my goodness, straight in. We roared, we stomped, we slept on the floor and then woke up again. And it didn't even need to change. We didn't even need to tweak it. It was an easy one. The instrument songs, really, I think it's a lot of people have a box of instruments in a preschool or a play group. And there's a little bit of like, oh, let's get the instruments. And children all grab something and they all start crashing and banging all at the same time. And everyone's like, all right, I think we've done instruments. Let's put them in the cupboard. So the idea of having stick songs in both sessions, we always have stick songs, is the fact that every child has the same instrument. So we're talking about 2 wooden spoons, or, I've got some nice coloured claves, which you can buy, or you can make them out of doweling, or you can have twigs from outside. But the fact that every child has the same instrument, and also we can then develop steady beat, and fast and slow, and loud and quiet, all together is great. Now, instead of just saying, oh, let's play quietly, or let's play loudly, we don't say all that. We just have a song. We make a song that directs them. And also by modeling the beat as you're tapping with it, you're showing the children, a good beat, and they won't all have it to start with, but then with repetition and with, if we just keep at it and keep singing those songs, those children will develop that nice beat, which is really essential to all music learning. So yeah, those songs there's usually a means to an end. I don't just think, oh, let's sing a song. I usually think, well, what else will be happening in that song? Will the children be learning musical concepts, or will they be getting physical coordination, or will they be moving and imagining? Will they be counting? And there's always something where the children are involved and interactive, because it's in the active music making that children actually brain development is enhanced. So active music making uses so many parts of the brain. We're thinking, we've got language going on, we've got coordination, we've got movement, and it's all happening at once. So actually, it's like a workout for the brain. So all our songs, I would say, have an active part. And that's, I think, what keeps the children engaged, because they're active and a part of it. So we write our songs really, I just been to Skomer Island, where there were lots of puffins. Bought a puffin puppet. So we came back and we wrote a song about rowing to the island to find the puffins and what the puffins do. So it's sort of a bit, we need a song about that. Come on, we haven't got a song about aeroplanes. We better get one, or it might be our grandchildren that show a real interest in something. And say, we need a song about that. And off we go. That's what we do. Yeah, so we're sort of driven by the children, and also we try them out. And if they don't work, they get scrapped. And then we'll go back to the drawing board, tweak it and stuff like that.
It's so interesting that it's so child led. Like if they're interested in a particular thing, then you'll write a song about it. I think that's such it's a trend that it keeps coming up, that the children are so involved in everything. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and unicorns, there's unicorn. I found a beautiful puppet, because it's usually, there's a puppet involved in somewhere. And so we developed a unicorn song. And, one little girl my mum videoed it for me. She was home in the garden. She was just singing away, and she's only 2. I'm a unicorn with a pointy horn. I'm as magical as can be. She's flying around the garden being a unicorn at home. So she takes it back and she's practicing herself, and developing her voice and remembering the words and the lyrics and the rhythm. And, so yeah, if you get their interest, if a child's not interested in what you're doing and what you're teaching, you've got to grab it somehow. And with small children, it will be diggers and planes and dinosaurs and things like that.
So then how do you structure your sessions to maximize the engagement and the learning outcomes? So how would you say, if there's a box of instruments, would you stop all the children from just bashing everything about, or on the contrary, is it completely fine for them to do that?
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. And at the end of our live sessions that we do, so I'll say live sessions, there's me fronting it, my husband's on keyboard and cello, and we run that. It's wonderful. It is wonderful to be able to do that. And at the end of each session, we bring out a wide selection of instruments. And he carries on playing on the keyboard or the cello. Mums and dads all have a chat, and it's a lovely end. And they were just exploring, and some lovely little moments there that you see. That is really important. So ready steady music sessions are just part of the musical journey, but you've got to start with something. You've got to start with something. I think the idea that you can just be creative, I think children are very creative naturally, but we need to also give them some skills and concepts, in a fun way that they will use in their creativity. They'll use it in their composing later. So in our sessions, we don't get out the big box of instruments. In these little focus sessions, we all have a pair of sticks, or we all have a shaker, or we all have a scarf. And so in that way, I think practitioners and teachers actually like it, because they say, well, it's not, it's not mayhem. It doesn't suddenly lose control, And also at the end, when we finish that instrument song, we sing instruments away, we will play with them another day. And for some reason, small children love this. I don't know why. This is part of the game. They all come racing towards the basket to put their sticks away. And I remember when we first did that, I thought, oh, so we didn't have to then have lots of tears because we're taking their instruments away. We sing the song and they all come running and put their instruments in the basket. So the structure that I've worked out over a lot of years is we always have a hello song and we always have a goodbye song. It's the same for every session. And some people say, well, why do you have a hello song? We said hello to the children already. They'd come into nursery that morning. So why would we do hello? Well, my understanding, particularly of working in special schools and just children generally, they like to know, they like to have a bit of security. So the hello song at the beginning and the goodbye song at the end, bang on the drum, is just your sort of little safety net. We know what's happening. We know it's starting. We know it's finishing. In the middle of that, we then have a recipe of different activities, and the recipe sort of basically stays the same. So we have a hello song. We have a warm-up song. So we're clapping and stamping and moving our bodies and warming ourselves up. We then have an instrument song, which we'd probably be sitting down to do. So then we get up and we move and imagine, and we might be a dinosaur, or we might go driving in a car. We then have a counting song of some sort, usually a number rhyme, and then more music and movement and expression. It could be bubbles, it could be moving with scarves and singing the scarf song. And then we end up with this bang on the drum. So there's a structure which the 5 sessions all follow. And then, all the sessions I do in other nurseries, like taster sessions, I always follow that because I know it keeps the children's interest. Nothing lasts more than probably a couple of minutes with children of that age. It is a good thing. And they're all different. So some are active, some are sitting, some are, I've got one song now, it's not in the pack, but it's a new one about mini beasts. And they always come close to me to sing that one. And they all sit around. I've got a little basket with mini beasts in, and we find out who's in there. And then we sing hello to the bee and the butterfly and everything like that. And the focus, somebody said, oh, you're like a child whisperer. I said, well, I don't know about that, but they're so focused on seeing who's in the basket. And then when it comes out, whatever it does, they're so focused on then singing. And of course, we get a little skill in there. We go, hello, butterfly. And they have to sing back, hello, butterfly. A little bit of pitch matching there. But they're so still, and very seldom is anybody wandering off. They're just absolutely there. But then I wouldn't expect them to be there for too long. And then we might go off and get a scarf out and sing the flying song and be moving all around the room. Or we might get the giant scrunchie, which is my new favourite thing. We all sit in a circle and we row the boat, or we do the pirate song, or whatever we do with that. Yeah, so I think the structure is key to ready steady music, and it works. I know it works because I still do it every week in 2 sessions with 30 different families, and I know it works. And I think it's just nice to peg the different activities on, within that structure.
How do you adapt that structure when there's a child with special needs? You mentioned that you worked in a special education needs setting, and that I'm guessing that the skills and concepts might sometimes be a bit trickier.
I often get asked that question in training, what do we do if we've got a child who doesn't want to join in? A child who's tearing around the room screaming at the top of their voice. That happened recently, actually, about 3 weeks ago, in one of the tasting sessions I did in a school. And it was a new child to the setting, and they had I think she was speech and language, and they wanted him just to be himself, because obviously they had the speech and language specialist in, and she wanted to observe him in a group session to see what he did. So they said, sorry about this, but we just got to let him, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to let him. So he was tearing around the room, making quite a lot of noise, trying to grab all my stuff everywhere. So I carried on with the, 15 children or whatever. And then I got out my ocean drum. I have this fantastic ocean drum. It's visual as well as, the sound is amazing. You're definitely in the Bahamas when you get it out. And I started to do this, because we were going to the sea as one of the songs. And suddenly, there he was. He'd come over and he was absolutely mesmerized by the moving little ball bearings going around and the sound. And he was there and he was engaged. And then he joined in, I think, the Bubbles song, and he joined in another one. And then off he went. That's absolutely fine. I always say in my training to practitioners, never, 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 never force a child to sit down and join in with these activities. They usually want to. If they don't, I've been to quite a lot of settings in the last year where they've wanted me to do taster sessions. So therefore, I deliver a registered music session in their setting with them, and they kind of see it in action. And they've had some funding for language and communication, and they've used their funding to get me in. And I've noticed more so recently that there've been quite a lot of children who may be sitting on a little sofa and peeping over, and they'll say, "Oh, he probably won't. He probably won't come in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And they always apologize, and I say, "No, that's fine, because he is accessing, or she is accessing the session. She's listening. He's listening. He might be still playing with the Duplo, but it's all going in here." And then you find when they feel okay, they'll come and they'll join in one of the songs. One is great, maybe two or three, and that's absolutely fine. And I mean, yourself, if you're forced to do something that you don't feel comfortable about, oh gosh, what's the reaction in all of us? I had one child who would only join in the Bubble song for, it must have been at least 10 weeks. So stayed in the play area and then came over. Every time the Bubble song came out, over he'd come, pop the bubbles, and then off he'd go back to the play box thing again. So we left, and the grandma who was with him was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, he doesn't come in." So you have to put the adult a piece and say, "No, this is fine. He's listening to the whole session." Now, within a term, that I watched that child being in the session, and a new child came in, and he was helping them access the session. He was helping them get their instruments, get their stuff, and show them how to hide. And there he was, but he hadn't been forced. So, that is so important, so important. Within the special school setting, the structure actually, especially I think I had 4 classes with autistic children in, very small classes, but, very individual autistic learners. And it was very unusual for them to do a group session. So they did a lot of, they had their little learning bays, and they did everything quite individually. And then they used to send them in the hall because I did all the music in the special school. And suddenly they were in a group doing something, which is, it was a bit foreign for them. And I found this structure of different hello songs for them, because some of them were like, 12, 14. But we had a hello song, we had a goodbye song. And even one of my lovely pupils, who was like, because it was CDs in those days. "Oh, blue CD, track 2, blue CD, track 2, which was the hello song. And then yellow CD, track 14, was a goodbye song. So I used to put it on because it had a lovely track with it. And then in the middle of that, then I could change the activities. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. One of the big things that worked really well was djembe drumming. In the special schools, every child had a djembe drum. I had a lovely neighbour, American neighbour, who moved in, came to the cathedral and watched the special school concert. I was so inspired by these children. She gave me £1,000. She said, "Spend it on something for the music department." So I bought this set of djembe drums. Oh, they were, honestly, they're still there. They're still in the school because I went back to train there the other day. And it was just the saving grace of so many lessons. I mean, sometimes the children walk in, teenagers, some of them are out to 19. So they'd walk in and their faces were like, "I don't want to be here. I'm just about to hit somebody or something." And he's just come in and I say, "Oh, let's just get a drum." And then we just all have one in a circle, which is the circle is just powerful. And we'd all start doing a rhythm. And I had a few African songs that we did. And then within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, those children were calmer. They felt better about themselves and they were ready to learn. It's just, I mean, you just have to go with the children. There was another one who didn't have any sight at all. He started being able to improvise on a keyboard. And another beautiful girl who had cerebral palsy and very poor sort of hand coordination, who decided she was going to play the keyboard. And we had a special, it's called Figure Notes. It's done by Drake Music Scotland. And you basically colour code all the notes, and then you have music that goes with it. and she learned to play the tune. And it was the concentration for her to get her fingers to, to do each note was huge. And she performed in the concert at the end of term, and then she won a competition. Because I sent a video into Drake Music of her doing it. And as I those sorts of things, you just think music is it's the best thing. It's the best thing for, for learning in all situations with children or diverse needs, really. Anyway, I'm going off in it now. I could tell you many stories.
No, it's lovely to hear how music can create this like inclusive and such a supportive environment for everyone to thrive. I think it's amazing. What advice would you give to practitioners who may be a bit hesitant about putting lessons into practice?
The advice I sort of do is almost by giving them the resource and then training them. So the ideal situation is what I've done in our local authority is that we get a group of practitioners together. They all get a resource pack, and then they all have this introductory training session with me. And my job in that session, yes, is to show them how it works. But my job really is to instill confidence. And I can tell when I walk into that room, the ones who are really up for it and the ones who are there because somebody sent them and they have to come. So then I get this little bee in my bonnet. I think, right, okay, they're the ones I'm going to target. And I'm just going to very gently show them that they can do it. And that is my job in training, is to instill confidence, because if somebody doesn't want to have a go or feel they can do it, then they're not going to. They're going to take that pack home, put it in the cupboard in their nursery and just think, oh, well, I went on that course. Excellent. And that doesn't seem to be what happens, because I sometimes doubt my resource pack because I think it's a little bit too simple and it's not creative enough. And quite often I give myself a little bit of a hard time over that. But actually what I've done is create something that people can run with, and they will go back and they'll email me and say, I went back into my setting and I did session 1 and the children loved it. And I actually felt okay about it because the songs are recorded. Now, again, there's 2 ways of looking at that. Some people in the musical world would say, oh, you mustn't do it with a backing track. You mustn't do it with a recorded track because it's too limiting, which I get. Absolutely, because I like just singing naturally, but that's my thing. But because they've got the tracks to sing along to, it just gives them a confidence. It's not just them singing, because they're not just singing to the children. You think you've got, probably another 3 or 4 adults in the room in a nursery. So you're singing in front of them too. And if you don't feel great about your voice, singing in front of adults is actually probably quite harder. But when you put the track on and you're singing with the track and you've got beautiful singers on there, I'm a little bit biased because they're all my family, basically. So I've got my daughter and my son-in-law singing, my son-in-law singing the dinosaur song. Mr. Dan sings the dinosaur song. And then I've got Alan on the keyboard and Alan on the cello. It's all a bit of a family affair. So because they've got that track with them, they know there's not going to be a riot because the instruments they get out are very, very usable. And sometimes if they've got a big, big group, we do a thing like, let's see if we can keep our sticks asleep before we all pick them up. You can do that when they get a bit older. And because they've got a structure and they can see what they need before the session, it tells you what to do, how to set it up, what your resources you need, what skills the children will be accessing, and developing through some of these songs. They just come back to you and say, I can do this. I can do it. So when I give myself a hard time, I think maybe it's a bit too simplistic. I actually think, no, what it is the foundation stage. So it's like, if we can do that, then we're much more likely to be able to do music in other ways once they've got that confidence. Yeah, so that's my joy. If I see people, their reaction is, I can do this, the children love it, and I do it. Actually, we do it every day. I think every day. They say, yeah, now we do it every day. It's just part of our morning. Then I've done my job. All right.
It's lovely to hear how you are inspiring confidence. Do you have any other tips for practitioners who would find it a little daunting to kind of sing out loud to the whole classroom?
Well, I think you should use your strengths in your setting. So if there's somebody, you get ones that say, I sing everywhere. I sing in the car, I sing in the shower. I sing all through my day. Well, they would be a great one to lead your session. But the other practitioners will still be in the circle, sort of learning and finding their confidence. And you don't have to be, people say, I'm not musical. What do they mean by that? They mean, I don't play an instrument and I can't read music, usually. Or somebody told me once, dreadful stories, can you mime in the school choir? as in just open your mouth or don't make a noise because you're not in tune. Now, people have had quite bad experiences of music. So there is that nurturing thing. And a lot of people are accessing music now through community choirs, and rock choir and all that as adults, and finding they have got a voice because they're in this inclusive environment where everything's fine. Whatever voice you bring is fine. They're not all as tuneful as others. And usually they sing a tune, but sometimes they don't pitch match. So they might be singing their tune on a slightly different pitch to you. They're still going up and down, but they can't actually necessarily hear. I think, if they're going to do ready, steady music every day, probably, by the end of the term, they'll be pretty good at the bubble song or whatever, I'd never force a practitioner to do it. But I think what I've tried to do is give them enough. So actually it's not their voice leading the session. It's the person on the track is leading the singing and they're joining in. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it.
It's been so interesting listening to you and chatting about all the ways that music can inspire adults as well as early years. And I think there's a lot of really good tools that you've described there. So where can listeners go for more information about Ready Steady Music and the work that you do?
Lots of places. I mean, I have a website and you can listen to songs on there. You can see testimonials, that sort of thing. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I will do quite a lot of reels and things on there where I'm sharing new songs, sharing good practice, experiences of just being into a nursery and what happened. So it's very much in the real time. They can join I've got a little Ready Steady Music community. It's not a Facebook group, but it's an email list. And basically, when I've got something to say, I send out a group email and it will be perhaps a new song, perhaps it'll be a topic thing. What about outdoor music? What about seaside songs or something like that? And that's all free and it's nice just for people just to have that. And I'm very happy to, if people are within an area, I suppose I am in Wales, so I will come into nurseries and do taster sessions. I'll, if they want to know more, then, I'd be very happy to talk to people on Zoom or have a chat on the phone to see how some training and stuff would fit their situation. We've also got an online training course that I'm developing, Coffee Break Bite-Sized Bits, which goes through the whole thing from the importance of music for brain development right through to how to do ready steady music, through to how to develop your musical play and creative music in your setting. So that's like an online version of what I do live. Yeah, so they're all different ways to find out a bit more.
And you're very busy developing your Welsh songs at the moment as well. How's that going?
Yeah, so because I live and work in Wales, everything I deliver here has to be bilingual. So when I first did my pack, it was all in English. I then had to have the whole resource booklet translated, but then I had to translate the songs. And that's not like an easy thing to do because you have to be able to make the words of the song make sense and also make sense in that language. So I have a wonderful friend called Elspeth. We work together. So we'll sit around the table and recently, we've taken like the Little Mini Beast song and then we work together and she makes it sound. What we try and do is make very simple language patterns. And actually going back to that idea of being supported by the track, when I go in and do Welsh groups, so I go into what we call Kilk Maestrin, they're immersive Welsh nurseries. So the children go in and everything's in Welsh. So I'm not a fluent Welsh speaker, I'm a learner, but I can do the songs in Welsh because you learn a song, as we talked about before. Nobody forgot Frere Jacques, did they? Everybody's got Frere Jacques under them, even if they, don't speak French. So if there's rhyme and there's the rhythm, then it helps us learn a language. And the simple language patterns are helping these children who often come from English backgrounds, speaking at home, come into that nursery. And what they say is that they find the music and the Welsh songs actually, that's a really good way of learning the language. In the future, I'd like to go back to the recording studio and get my new songs, which are in English, recorded so I can do some more sessions of people because, they want some new songs. So I'm doing that. I'm working for my local music charity still, just done a whole music day with them. And we work with children from 6 months up to 12 throughout the day. So we did lots of lovely musical activities and doing that sort of thing. And I'm up for whatever, really. Buy some new puppets, make some new songs.
Sounds like you're very busy. But it all sounds so exciting. Well, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Or diolch. My parents are Welsh. Well, my mum's Welsh, so I've been. That's the one thing I know. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Best of luck with the new songs. We'll be giving it a listen.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll be playing it in the office.
Yeah.
I even send you the Welsh version of the dinosaur song.
Amazing.
You know, yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah.
Thank you to Kath for coming on today. It was an amazing episode hearing all about the joy of music in early years.
Yeah, I literally listened to Kath all day chatting about resilience, confidence, and just how music affects us all.
Yeah, and hearing how children are creative naturally and how music helps this. What were your takeaways today?
So my key takeaway was that you don't have to force children, or adults for that matter, to do things, and they'll be much happier and more likely to join in if they do it on their own terms. It just reminded me of when I was a teenager going shopping with my mum. And if my mum picks out clothes for me, I will always say that I don't like it. Whereas if I found it by myself, I would probably buy that. What's your key takeaway?
Mine was the way that music opens up so many doors to instill confidence. It's something that I wouldn't feel very comfortable singing out loud, but I think taking time and having patience to feel ready is such a key stage.
Yeah, you should come to one of our karaoke sessions. Thank you again to Kath for coming on. Let us know what you thought about this episode and get in touch with us on Instagram or Facebook by going to @earlyyearsresources.
Let us know what you thought of this episode by reviewing, and don't forget to follow for updates on future episodes. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.